Everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday morning Mortgage Coach Coaching Call. My goal every single Tuesday at 9 o'clock is to deliver the mortgage industry's absolute best sales meeting. So important to start your morning right, and it's so important that every week you get to connect as a community of like-minded mortgage professionals. My name is Dave Savage. For anybody that's new to the Mortgage Coach community, you are on this call, so you're a member of ours. You invest in our relationship, and you're part of my family. So connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already, and I urge everybody to make sure that you're connecting with us on Facebook. We really work hard to make sure that we keep you updated on things that are happening in Mortgage Coach land, whether it's who's the guest on the next coaching call, whether it's some of the deliverables for this call. There'll be links on Facebook, and one of these days we'll get Tim Braheem on Facebook. That'll be a challenge for the call. Just kidding, Tim.
I am on Instagram finally.
Which is a shocker given your passion for photography, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, by the way, it's a shocker that you weren't there sooner, was to my point. So I want to remind everybody that Mortgage Coach, we believe that delivering a mobile experience is critical to your success, that you're able to teach and help realtors deliver better advice, drive urgency in the sales process, and really be something special in their sales process. So hopefully everybody on this call, you've downloaded the Mortgage Coach app, whether you have an Android or an iPhone. And one of my challenges and kind of homework assignments for today, and I'm going to recommend it again at the end of the call, is to just go to your mobile experience and put rent own. Just, it don't need to be capitalized. Just type it in, rent own, and we will drive a Mortgage Coach rent versus own home buying experience. And this is something that you should be showing your realtors, how you're driving urgency and creating value for first-time home buyers, and something that you're having conversations with all of your referral partners around how you're helping people make better decisions, and you're doing it in a multi-platform way. All right, so again, remember, whether you have an Android, whether you have an iPhone, hopefully everybody on this call, you've got this checked off, and you know how to do this, and you're getting value from it. So a couple follow-up items from the past couple weeks. If anybody missed the call from 2 weeks ago where we had the #1 realtor in America, Ken DeLeon, on, I mean, guys, it was awesome call. I mean, we had over 900 people on the call, almost 900, probably over 900 people have watched the YouTube video now. It was just one of those calls that you want to have both your realtors on and you want to listen to it yourself. I mean, this guy not only has a phenomenal backstory, which Tim Braheem, you would just love this guy. He is so your people, and you love his story. We can talk about that, offline. But guys, make sure you did not miss this. And then last week, I mean, I just loved this call with Phil Black. Not only was he a Navy SEAL for 4 years, he was a trainer of Navy SEALs for 6 years, and he's really dedicated his life to fitness in America. So really great call, and when him and I prepared for the call, it was all about taking some of that mentality that a Navy SEAL has, that when the biggest challenges come up, when the water's the coldest, when the weather conditions are the worst, we get excited. And it wasn't just like words like, I'm faking it till I make it. No, they get excited. The more difficult conditions, the more exciting the opportunity. So I thought that call was really important. I want to remind everybody, you can see it in the Mortgage Coach channel. Don't miss that. Great follow-up item. So today's call with Tim Braheem and his personal coach, and I'll let him tell the story of James and all that. But I really want to center this call, Tim and James, as we go into it. It's all about confidence. And we all know to be confident, you need to have knowledge. And we all know that in order to still get that confidence, you got to take action on that knowledge. So, we've done a lot of preparation for this. Actually, I would say more preparation than usual. While this is not going to be a presentation, where Tim presents his perfect loan process or Tim presents his philosophies on time management, we're going to just talk about questions. Because Tim is such an iconic figure in our industry, who was once upon a time one of the best originators ever to be in this industry. He had just an amazing mastery of how to be successful in the mortgage industry. But he designed this perfect loan process. And it's, by the way, Tim, it's amazing how many thousands of times this video has been watched. and how many leaders, today are still learning from that perfect loan process that you designed many years ago and that you and I did a couple calls on recently. I want to thank you for it. And also, have you received any feedback or heard anything from folks that have watched that video?
Yeah, thank you. And you guys did such an amazing job with it. I mean, gosh, I mean, I was just really grateful for the time that you guys put into consolidating it and tightening it and making it really flow. And yeah, I've gotten a tremendous amount of feedback, and it's really nice because several of my clients that are in the Leadership 360 program with James and I are in the process of really implementing that. And I could maybe speak to that. We'll see if it feels right. But I mean, right now is really an outstanding and important time to be embracing putting that process into place. And it's actually an easier time to do it than ever before, because your team is going to be a lot more flexible with you now that the market has shifted. But it's been just so helpful to have that video that you put together as kind of a training tool for some of our clients that are in the process of really putting that into play within their business model.
Fantastic. Well, again, I appreciate all the thoughts. I really think we broke it down to it's a teaching. It's a 25-minute teaching. There was, a lifetime of work that went into the perfect process. Obviously, it's been evolved by a lot of the top producers today. You and I did multiple hours of calls, and we turned it into a 25-minute teaching. So if anybody's on this call and you have not watched this video, one, you can go to our website at mortgagecoach.com, and there's a banner that, goes by. You can click on it. And two, after this call, I will post a link to it on our Facebook page under the comments section of Tim's call. So again, don't miss this. It's a great teaching from Tim, and I just don't think it should be missed by anybody that's part of the Mortgage Coach community. So in terms of today's call, what it's really about is Tim and I did a number of calls to the community. I don't know, it's been months now. And Tim got a lot of emails with questions afterwards. I got a lot of emails with questions afterwards. Tim, I mean, he's so passionate about giving value to our community. I mean, he put together a list of what he thought were, 20-plus questions that he thought would be valuable. If he answered them in a form like the one we have today, Tim thought that this would be valuable for folks, and I agreed with him. So the document you're looking at right now is just a little cut and paste of 20-plus questions that really went into today's call. Now, I didn't think we could get through 20 questions, so Tim and I broke it down to around 10. And who knows, we may not get through all 10. And if we don't, that's okay. We're going to have Tim come back and make sure we get through all 10 of them. To make this call even more interesting and more valuable, Tim brought in his coach. So Tim, like all great leaders, believes that, you're always learning, you always have mentors and coaches in your life. And he's got a coach, and I don't know the backstory, and I don't know how long James Price has been your coach, Tim, but you wanted to invite him to the call because you thought he could add another layer of value. So I'm going to let you introduce James, and then we'll just get to it, man. I'll start asking you questions, and I know it'll start being magic and value for the Mortgage Coach community.
Did you want me to tee up James a little and give a little info?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, James and I have known each other now for about 2.5 years, and we met at the University of Santa Monica. We were both getting our master's degrees together in spiritual psychology, and he's been an executive coach for 16, 17 years now, and I decided after getting to know him and working on some projects with him in school where I was just wildly impressed by him that I really wanted to pay the big money and have him coach me. So he's been my coach for over a year now, and about a year ago, coming up on a year ago, he decided to accept an invitation of mine to come down and just hang out in Costa Rica with me when I was doing my strategic business and life planning retreat down there, because he just wanted to kind of see what I was doing. He'd been coaching me on several things, and it was appropriate for him to just kind of take a peek at my business and how it was running, and it quickly became obvious that that we would be a really great team. And so we partnered up and we developed the Leadership 360 program, which has been in place now since the beginning of the year, and we're super excited about the things that we're doing with that. And, so he and I really are not, he's not just my coach, he's my partner. And, a lot of the questions, quite frankly, that are, that I shot your way, Dave, were related to things that James coaches me on a lot. And, he's a master at coaching on the subject matter of time management and balance in life and harmony in life, and really using the business as a vehicle to make life harmonious, rather than it being a deterrent, which in many of our cases it can unfortunately be. A business can be successful, but yet still a deterrent to having the quality of life that we're looking to have. And with his vast experience of doing this for so long, I've been really blessed to have him teach me an awful lot, and then I get to turn around and teach it to my clients, and then he and I teach it together and make a real big difference in people's lives. So, hey, James, thanks for joining us today, man, and taking time out of your busy schedule. It's always nice to be with you.
Thank you both.
Great to be here. I look forward to getting to know you better personally and professionally, and I look forward to having a great conversation over the next 40 minutes that delivers a lot of value to the mortgage coach community. So gentlemen, let's get rocking. Let's kick off the conversation with the thought that rates, it's not too long ago, they went up at one point over 120 basis points, really radical shift in rates. That increase in rates, killed rate and term refis. So while, yes, there's still some cause-driven refis, and, I'm not going to get into what the causes are, because I think everybody I know realizes it's purchase time. It is a purchase market, and in order to meet our goals, in order to continue to have record years, and for some of the folks on this call, it's not about having record years, it's how to go from surviving to thriving. You're not, in this mortgage business, you need to close more than 5 loans a month to thrive. And obviously, whether you close 8 loans a month, whether you close 20 loans a month, 30 loans a month, a lot of that has to do with just your, what is success to you? To get over 20 loans a month, you've really got to have a monster level of ambition. And while we do spend a lot of time in these calls, how do we help people close 20-plus loans a month or 8-plus loans a month? I really want to center this to, both James and Tim. Anybody who's closing less than 5 loans a month, let's help them. Let's get them to a higher level of confidence and a higher level of execution. And everybody on this call, we want to improve your confidence through knowledge. And for all you that are closing over 5, 8 loans a month, I really want to arm you with the tools to be better leaders, better coaches to your team, to the people around you that need your leadership during this time. Because it is a difficult time in the market with refis crushed, killed, gone, and we need purchase business. So Tim, my question to you is, what are the must-dos for an originator in a market like the one today?
I'm gonna, if you don't mind, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to tackle 2 of these questions in one answer, because there's another question here that I put in here that I'm just so passionate about. And I'm going to go ahead and read it real quick, Dave, and then I'll just kind of loop the answer into both of them. The other question is, I had a lot of refis in the pipeline that I lost when rates went up because they weren't locked, or they were leads of people that I couldn't get to commit, et cetera. And it's killing me as I didn't get them quickly enough. And within this bucket, I'm sure that there are plenty of people on the call who had clients who they had done loans for before, and in the heat of all the busyness, they never got around to calling them, and they're looking back in the rearview mirror now going, God, I lost that opportunity because I wasn't as efficient as I could be. So I'll go ahead and take the first shot at this, and then I'll just see if James has any color that he wants to add. The daily disciplines that are critical right now are about building relationships with people, and we'll get to that in a second, so let's set that aside. That's number one. Number two is having real clarity, Dave, on what it is that is your job description. And your job description is to hunt. Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, Business Network International, when he spoke at our business planning conference 7 or 8 years ago used the metaphor of getting out of the cave being your office, that desk that you've been used to sitting at during this refi boom. It's now time to get out of that cave, come out of hibernation, and go forage for food. And that food is relationships. So your disciplines need to be about you cultivating relationships. So let's take a look at that for a minute. And you notice that I'm just saying relationships generically because that's how you should hold it. Don't put so much pressure on yourself in holding it in the context of realtor relationships, because that can cause a lot of pressure for people who haven't maybe had the success they'd like to in that arena before. This is about cultivating relationships in general. And when we look at relationships in general, you guys, what we're really talking about, I mean, you think about when you were dating. Like, what was the ideal circumstance for you when you were dating? Well, one of the ideal circumstances would be to get a third-party referral, an introduction from a friend. You know, somebody sets you up, or you go to an environment that is a social enough environment to where you can meet people. Well, it's no different in this set of circumstances. You're now dating, and it's time to meet people. Some of those people happen to be realtors. Others happen to be accountants and financial planners, and some of them happen to be just really good networkers that don't do anything that fits in the traditional box of a great referral source. One of my great all-time referral sources was a guy who was a banker, and he referred to me all of his takeout loans. Not a traditional referral source in most cases. Another tremendous referral source that I had was Todd Gindy, who's an amazing life insurance agent, and he figured out a way to push a lot of business my way. So when I say getting a third-party referral, what I would really encourage all of you to be doing right now, if I were in your shoes, what I would be doing is I'd be printing a list of all of the people that I've done loans for over the past 18 to 24 months. And I'd go through that list with a highlighter, and I would highlight the name of anybody that you felt like you connected with, bonded with, and that they liked you. And I'd simply pick up the phone, and I'd tell them the truth. Business has slowed down. I'd first start off by giving them great news. I want to congratulate you on getting the rate that you got, because that rate is no longer available. I'm really thrilled that we were able to take advantage of the opportunities and save you the money that we were able to save you. So now you've made them feel really good about the service that you provide. So you've created a very warm conversation. And then from there I'd say, and you know, what's transpired since these rates have gone up, to be very candid with you, is that my business has slowed down quite a bit. And I'm realizing it's time for me to start to cultivate more relationships that can help me build and grow my business. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to help me with that. Is there anybody that you know that is in the profession of real estate or accounting or financial planning or insurance that you have a close relationship with, that you think that I would be a good person to meet with them? And would you be willing to, you know, give me their information, and I could give them a call and introduce myself to them? So don't make this so hard on yourself. You don't need to go to the MLS and look up who the top producers are and call on them cold, which is what most people do. It doesn't need to be that difficult. You know, those of you that I could go on and on about this for a long time, but I want to make sure that we tackle other questions. But those of you that know the concept of page 5 of the loan application, which was asking the rating on a scale of 1 to 10 questions, 10 being best, your relationship with your accountant, your realtor, etc. It's the same concept. You can go even in that direction with it. But my point is make sure that you're getting into your network and talking to the people that are advocates of you and creating an outside sales force for yourself amongst the relationships that you've done a wonderful job in cultivating. That's number one. Number two is that whoever your, and Rick Ruby with CORE spoke about this at Stephen Marshall's event back in June when I was there, and it was interesting because when I heard him mention it, I thought to myself, gosh, that's so funny. I did that religiously when the markets got tough, and it really does work extraordinarily well, and they coach all their clients on it. Every single Monday, like clockwork, you want to call every single referral partner that you have, and you want to ask them how their weekend was. You want to ask them, if in the case of a real estate agent, did you show any property this weekend? Is there anybody that you met with that you might need my assistance in pre-approving and getting them, helping get them off the fence so they're willing to write an offer? offer. I can show them the after-tax benefits of buying a home. I can show them where the rates are at right now, it still makes inherent sense versus what they currently have right now. Really put yourself in a position to where you're partnering with that agent and that they feel really good about introducing you to any leads that they're getting exposed to. Every single Monday, it's a discipline. You do not miss a Monday. Every single Friday, you call them. You wish them a good weekend. You know, you catch them in the morning, you get their voicemails. Hi, it's Tim Braheem, First Rate Financial. I just want to give you a call, say good morning, happy Friday. I hope you have a really productive second half of your week. If you're out showing property this weekend and you run into anybody that you might need my help on, please don't hesitate to give me a call. This is, of course, if you're willing to work on the weekends and pre-approve people. If not, maybe you have somebody on your team that can do that. But my point is religiously connecting twice a week, every Monday, every Friday, every Monday, every Friday. And if they're not currently using you, all it's going to take is them calling their lender one time and not getting a hold of them real quick, and you're going to be the first person that pops into their mind. Now, in closing, let me talk about real quick this whole refinance thing, because I have a pretty strong opinion that we have not seen the end yet of your refinance possibilities. Now, I don't want you to hear that as an excuse to stay in the cave, so to speak, and not get out and hunt and forage. But what you really want to be doing in this circumstance, folks, is you want to be thinking ahead and working smart, setting up the next deal when it becomes available, when the market cooperates. So what I want everybody to do is I want you to go back through all of the leads that you had that never converted to refis that are no longer capable of doing so, and any of the past clients that you have that you could have refied, but you didn't get to them quickly enough. And I want you to call all of those people. And the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to create a little bit of pain with those that were sitting on the fence for a while. And that pain looks like this. You pick up the phone, and in the case of a lead that said, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about it, and they never got around to it, and you know, before you know it, rates have gone up and you lost the opportunity. You call them up and you say, hey, Dave, this is Tim Braheem at First Rate Financial. I'm calling you, unfortunately, with some bad news. As I'm sure you've probably heard, interest rates have gone up about 0.75% to 1% over the last three and a half months. And that refinance that we had talked about that we could do for you at no points, no fees, it was going to save you $116 a month, is no longer available. And it really pains me to deliver this news to you because I hate the fact that every single month that goes by, you're paying $116 more than you needed to pay. But what I want to do is I want to offer my time to you by watching the market consistently for you going forward. I have no idea if it's going to take 3 months or 3 years, but I want to make the commitment to watching rates for you on a daily basis. And when they do come back down to the 4.125% that we were talking about at no points, no fees, I want to make sure that we have an understanding and an agreement that I'm just going to go ahead and lock your rate in and get the paperwork going and save you the $116 a month that we were talking about. Is that acceptable to you? Now, because you've created pain at the onset, they're going to roll over and say yes, which is exactly what you want. Now you have the commitment. Now it's just a function of you putting different people in different groups in your database. So you've got your 4 1/8, you've got your 4 1/4, you've got your 4 3/8. These are all contractual verbal agreements that you have with these people. Okay, and as soon as the market rallies, which it will at some point in time, because we will get some negative economic data, and you will have mortgage-backed sell-off, and when they do come down, you'll wake up one morning, you'll turn on CNBC, you'll see that bonds are rallying, you'll run into the office, you'll see 4 3/8 is available, boom, 4 deals. You just made 10 grand. You don't have to pick up the phone and call those people. You simply call them and inform them. Great news for you. The rate that we talked about is now available. I locked it in. I want to make sure that we take advantage of that window of opportunity because sometimes it's really small, and we're getting the paperwork started for you. And that's working smart and setting up the next deal. It's making sure that you go ahead and intelligently get commitments now. So that's my long answer, and I promise that my other answers won't be quite so long. James, I don't know if there's anything that you would want to add to that about disciplines, especially because I know that you're really good at holding people accountable and all that, and if not, we can move to the next question.
Yeah, Tim, I might jump in really quickly on just one thing, is creating some rituals for excellence.
And one of the things that I would suggest that people might look at considering doing is to block out a couple chunks within their day, and I call it sort of your genius zone, and that genius zone is your high-impact activities. and that you've blocked out so there's no interruptions at all. There's no phone calls coming in. There's nothing. You sit down and block out like a couple hours of time and just bang out those things that are most important to your business, and and also find out what part of the day you're energetically the most tuned in. If you're more of an afternoon person, a morning person, block out that time so you can really create those rituals of excellence and find that. And we'll talk a little bit more as we get into the call about the genius zone a little bit more if we have time.
Great. Dave, fire away, bud.
All right, guys. Well, before I bring in the next question, I want to make sure everybody makes that actionable. I thought that Tim's answers, as always, are awesome. And the whole tone of the call around confidence, think about it, when you think of the first action step, and I wrote down 4 for you guys. Now, again, everybody, you have what's important to you. You might have written down different ones than I did. You may have written down more or less. But I was taking notes for the community, for the mortgage coach community, and I wrote down 4 action steps. And the first one was call everyone that likes me, trusts me, and go deep with them. So think about that, guys. Would that improve your confidence so that when you did go into that hostile territory of a realtor conversation of someone you didn't know, you just felt better about yourself and you had more confidence? So I mean, I thought that was awesome, Tim. I mean, we could end the call right now and just say, everybody, go do that and come back next week, and I bet everybody would be happier, more confident. You'd have loans that you took. You'd have referrals or relationships that you got. So, I mean, that was massive. That was huge. I love the discipline of starting the week Monday and ending the week Friday around prospecting with focus. So I hope everybody got that. We all know that the rhythms of success, guide your life. I mean, it's only Tim Braheem, the ultimate mortgage manager, someone that, every time he built a relationship, it was like, yeah, you like me, you trust me, and you're going to do every loan with me, but I'm going to manage your mortgage for you. So great reminder that in every market, it's not just about managing relationships, doing loans, it's about managing their mortgage. And I thought that was a huge takeaway. And then, James, you already brought in a great value. I mean, we call them jam sessions here at Mortgage Coach, where I love that genius time. I'm gonna add that to my I like that genius time, baby. So making sure that we're dedicating. So guys, 4 action items, and we just got started. So thanks, guys. That was awesome. So next question. And again, and I don't care if we get through all these because, Tim, it's already obvious we've got a lot of people on this call and people want to hear what you have to say. So if we don't get to all these questions today, we will get another call on the calendar ASAP and have you back to get through all these questions. And also, I'm sure new questions are going to come in. So by the way, folks, I can already tell we're probably not going to have time to raise hands. If you do have a question, do put it in our environment so that we can add it to the call for next time. So I urge you, as we're going through this, your questions will get answered. They probably just won't get answered today because we've got the deck stacked today. So here's the next question, guys. I'm getting ready to embark in cultivating a referral partnership. I'm feeling a lot of fear, lack of confidence as to what to say. Can you walk me through any suggestions so that I can cultivate? And by the way, I would only add to that, Tim, add to the steps, cradle to grave. What do I got to do just to go and do it? So I got to get the confidence to go do the meeting. Then I got to have the script, and again, not script, the talking points and the structured conversation to win the respect. Walk us through your view and vision around that, Tim.
Well, it's kind of a continuation of what we were talking about a few minutes ago. It's just so much easier to enter into a potential relationship in life when you have a warm referral. So, I like to use something that I've been teaching for a long time called the trapping script. I call it that because you kind of trap the person into having to meet with you. If you're on the phone with those people and you're asking them to rate their relationship with their accountant, when I say those people, I mean the client that you're picking up the phone and calling that you've done a loan for in the last year, and you're asking for them to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, their existing relationship with their real estate agent as an example. And they say, well, that would have to be a 10. We went to high school together. She's handled 3 transactions for me. We're really close friends. Our kids know each other great. So then you say, well, would it be okay, with you if I gave her a call and introduced myself? Do you think it would be worthwhile for us to get to know each other? And the person says, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So now you pick up the phone and you call the agent and you say, hi, Jane, my name is Tim Braheem with First Rate Financial, and we have a mutual friend by the name of Dave Savage, who by the way, he's a client of mine, and I was on the phone with him a little while ago, and I asked him to rate for me on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best the relationship that he has with his real estate agent. And he gave you a 10, and I just thought you should know that right out of the gate. I mean, it doesn't happen very often that somebody speaks so highly of their real estate professional as Dave did of you. And I was very intrigued by the possibility of meeting you. I mean, Dave and I have cultivated a really good business relationship. I think he really values the work that I do. And he suggested that I give you a call and that we figure out a time to sit down together and maybe have a cup of coffee early one morning before your day gets busy and just talk a little bit about how you work and how I work to see if there's an opportunity for us to maybe help each other grow each other's business. Now, it's really difficult for Jane to say no to me because, in a sense, she's saying no to Dave, her friend who just gave her a 10, who suggested that I give a call to her and get together with you. And you do this with accountants, you do this with financial planners, etc. Again, I don't think that you need to make these conversations and these meetings so challenging. I mean, I always, again, like to use the analogy of dating. James, do you have anything that you want to add to that as well?
No. Nope. Just keep on going. If something comes to me, I'll jump in on it.
Yeah. I mean, from there, I'm a big fan of conducting the interview with the realtor, the accountant, the financial planner. I mean, you can't go into, it's again no different than dating. I mean, if you go and do your first date and all you're doing is talking about yourself, then you're really not learning anything about the person that you're meeting with. You're not really getting any kind of a feel at all for whether or not you would want to work with them. And more importantly, they're not really enjoying the conversation very much because who really wants to hear you talk all about yourself? If you really want it to be a successful meeting, you let them talk about themselves and you listen a lot. And you ask a lot of open-ended questions. This is one of the things that James and I teach in our Leadership 360 program is the art of asking open-ended questions. Questions that elicit a detailed response rather than ones that elicit a yes or no answer. And in that detailed response, there are certainly opportunities to then go deeper and connect on a more deep level, as Dave's talking about in this call about connection. So really taking the time to get to know this person, to let them share with you a little bit about themselves, to not come from a place of scarcity. Okay, and I really want you to hear me on that. You come from a place of abundance. It's a very different conversation than the difficult conversation that is when we come from scarcity. Scarcity looks like, I really need you badly as a real estate professional to send business to me, so I'm going to trip all over myself and try to get you to want to work with me. That's not attractive. Abundance is the perspective of, I'm just looking to get to know you. I'm not sure if we're a great fit. This will only be revealed through time. Just grateful for the opportunity to be sitting here with you and learning a little bit more about you in so many words. And you're not exactly saying that, but that's the energy that you're giving off. That energy of confidence, that energy of not being desperate. So I mean, again, I could spend a whole call on this subject matter too, Dave. I'm just trying to synthesize kind of some of the higher points. I don't know if you were able to discern any action items from that for your group.
Yeah, I was. And again, I've heard that before. So, I mean, I've asked that question, I've heard it, and every time it's just a great reminder to me. My takeaways were, just quality versus quantity. So often when I interview loan officers that, they're struggling. They're not closing north of 5 or 8 loans a month. They're busy. They're really busy. Sometimes they're the most busy people, but there's a lot of noise and not a lot of signal. They're not doing the things that matter most. And to me, you know, when I heard the concept of taking your time, calling someone that knows you, likes you, and trusts you, getting a really quality introduction, and it's obvious that you're taking time to do it right. I mean, you could have just, oh, thanks, that's the name and number, great, I'll give him a call. No, that's not Tim Braheem. Tim Braheem he's making sure that he's emotionally connecting with that person that's giving the referral. He's asking enough questions so that when he calls that referral partner, it's not just, oh, hey, I can help you close more loans, and you know we close all our loans on time. Can you meet me at such and such? No, it was personally connecting. It was going deep. It was about quality and quantity versus quantity, and it was about emotion and connecting with you emotionally versus transactionally. And so, you know, I don't know what the action item is there other than awareness. You know, I think Phil Black last week, he talked about, you know, I asked him, you know, how can we take that Navy SEAL mentality and bring it to the mortgage industry? And he talked about positivity and how the average person, between what media is bringing to them, what their self-talk is telling them, what other people are telling them, it's like 70% negative. You know, you can't do this. You shouldn't do that. This bad thing is going on in the world. And so one of his advice and takeaways was, you know, just be intentional. Pay attention to, you know, what is your negative, you know, negative input and negative self-talk versus positive. And so I kind of put the same takeaway around this, Tim, is that everybody just be more intentional after every conversation that you have. Did you slow down? Was it quality? Did you connect emotionally? And did you really maximize that opportunity? I don't know. I don't know if James, your name left. Are you still on the call, James?
Yeah, I'm still here. I actually, I am.
Okay,
you know
what did you want to add to that, James?
Well, I just may add in this idea of presence, this idea that when you slow it down, if people are all going at 100 miles an hour, there becomes a very surface level conversation happening. And if you can slow yourself down, get into that spot like we talked about, this block of time that you've got for your day to do those really high impact activities. And when I call the genius zone, it's really when we want to think about it, it's the high ROI. What's the high impact activities that you're going to be doing? And you want to also have that be things that take the least amount of energy. That's the genius zone. Lowest amount of energy expended from you with the highest amount of output in value. But when you slow it down and you're talking to somebody and having a conversation, they're going to feel connected to you because you're going to bring them present. You're going to feel different than all the other conversations they've been having all day, which are at a hyper speed. There's no feeling going on. There's just it's a transactional conversation. We want to get out of transactional conversations and drop into having conversations where there's a real connection happening. And that's when the stuff starts to get pretty magical. So creating that kind of dedicated space, you can put yourself in that place as a professional to be able to show up at your best and hold that kind of space for yourself. And that's when you're not multitasking, you're not having phone calls coming in, you're just connected and present.
Awesome. And by the way, guys, we are at 40 minutes into the call. We've got to 4 questions, and I only bring that up not to say let's answer them faster, because I really think, I mean, if we really ended the call right now, I would consider this a successful mortgage coach call. Everybody on this call, I am going to be scheduling another call with Tim, so FYI, we'll let you know real soon when that next call is. And I also want to remind you, we are not going to get into anybody else's questions today. Put them in comments. Right now I can see that 8 questions have been submitted. Because I'm present, I don't even know what they are, and I'm not even looking. But I can see that 8 have been submitted, and I would love to see that at 20. I would love to see 20 questions for Tim, so next time we are all on this call together, we can just crush it. We can, you know, and by the way, Tim, we're going to whittle it down to 5 questions next time, because it's clear that there's enough value in just going deep around a few questions that's a better way to roll than just how many questions can we get answered. So, folks,
I'd like to actually, I feel like James was really hitting on something incredibly important that never gets talked about in this business. You know, I've seen so many presentations, even as recently as in June, where at Stephen's event, where the teachers in this industry are talking about, kind of almost a way of tricking people into getting them to work with you versus the really authentic, meaningful, deep connection. And there's a question on here that I had put that I think really kind of, if you don't mind, Dave, goes a little deeper with it that I'd like to throw over to James and see if he wants to penetrate it a little bit more deeply. I think it'd be really valuable as it relates to building these relationships with realtors. Do you mind if I just jump on this question?
Absolutely, rock it.
Okay. So it says, so the question is, sometimes I don't feel like I'm using my gifts effectively, and I'm caught up doing things that I shouldn't be doing. How do I assess what I should be doing every day?
Oof.
Well, there's an exercise that we bring people through, and I don't know, I'll make this brief because I don't want to take up, how much time we have on this call, but the idea of finding your genius zone again. And so there's so many things that we do during the day that have a low impact. They don't make a huge, impact on your bottom line, or they don't make a huge impact in creating a relationship, but they take a ton of your energy. And we need to get out of those. It's almost like fossil fuel type of activities versus, energy efficient. And so what we're trying to figure out is you go through and you can take a grid and start looking at the things that are taking a lot of your energy, have very little return, and the things that take little energy and have a very high return. And you start to get aware of what are these things throughout my day and how do I take the discipline to get rid of those. And very often when we're going very quick and we're feeling stressed, we default to those things because they're familiar. And so we've got to stay aware of when we get sidetracked and get distracted into the activities that are easy to grab. There are little problems that just happen to come up, and you start reacting instead of being proactive. And so slowing it down as you're going through your day, and the other things that are super important, I just want to add this in as another little tip, is you should have a couple, sort of like we have halftime in a football game, you should have a couple times throughout your day that you stop, and maybe it's a third of the way through your day, and you stop and you go, how am I doing? I started my day with the intention to do these things. Now I'm a third of the way through the day. What's happening? Am I on track? Am I off track? If you're off track, course correct. If you're on track, awesome. Look and keep that going. But it's so important that we don't just start the day and then get to 6 or 7 o'clock at night and go, what happened? So
yeah, if I could just real quick add to that as a client of James's. James refers to these little check-ins as pit stops. And over the course of the last 6 months or so, he's been working with me on getting into my genius zone an awful lot more in my day. And these pit stops that he's referring to are so vital. And I finally listened to you. It took me a couple of months. I don't know why I was so resistant. And set an alarm in my calendar on my phone. It's a recurring alarm that goes off every day at 11 o'clock in the morning and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and at 5 o'clock in the evening. And all it is just an alarm that reminds me, and when it goes off, no matter what I'm doing, to find my breath, to get present for a moment, and to ask myself that question. Am I on course right now? Is my day unfolding in the way that I designed for it to? Or am I finding myself getting caught in what I would call fear-based activities, James? I don't know if you would agree with that or not. We've never talked about this, but to me, those things that you're so accurately referencing that come up, that kind of take us off course, are generally driven by some form of fear. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. There's a whole methodology. When you start to get into fear, there comes from scarcity, and then it's a very low learning state. So if you actually can measure your capacity for learning, the more afraid you are, the more anxious you feel, the more learning goes down. The more you can catch your breath, become present, you start going into, we call it above the line. So there's a below the line, which is all around scarcity and fear, and there's above the line, which is around creativity and trust. And when you're in the higher state of learning, it's when you're more open, things are more slow, you're more present. So it is critical that when things start to speed up, and if mortgage rates change and then there's a panic, you'll find everybody's kind of scrambling, but you're finding that your creativity and your problem-solving skills go way down.
Wow.
Do you want to add on to that, Tim, in any way?
Well, so I'm not sure that I'm necessarily adding on to that as much as I just want to reflect something else that you said that I really want to hammer this point home to everybody. It's like, my goodness, if none of you, if you didn't learn anything on this call other than really trying to develop a discipline on a daily basis of cultivating more presence in your life, that would be probably the single greatest teaching that I would imagine that could be taught. Because not only is it going to have a dramatic impact on your experience of life and the experience of those that you love and care about, but it is going to have a massive impact on developing referral relationships. I can promise you that if you go into any of these meetings with a client or a potential referral partner from a perspective of stillness inside and presence, they will feel that, and they will not know on a conscious level why, but on a deeper level, they will know that they just like being in your presence. And it's an energetic thing that people experience because everybody wants to feel connected. It's an inherent need of every human being on this planet is to feel a connection. And when we feel it, whether it be a connection to nature or a connection to another human being or a connection to music, it reverberates within our consciousness in such a powerful way that we want more of it. It's like a drug. And if you can start to become that battery of presence and put that type of an energy out on a consistent basis, I promise you your business will be rewarded for it very, very handsomely.
Strong learning, gentlemen. I think everybody's going to want to re-listen to this call. So everybody, it will be posted on the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel within hours. But just to repeat and make sure it's actionable. By the way, I'm going to set the 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 5 o'clock alarm to make sure that I'm getting what I want out of the day, that I'm focused on high-value activities, that I'm present, and that I don't have fear activity. I'm not doing fear-based activity, which we all do. And I put the equation stillness plus presence equals life. I mean, that is what graded advice and wisdom. So, Tim, it wouldn't be a mortgage coach call because you're talking to a lot of mortgage coach members, not a lot, all of them. And by the way, we have over 500 people on this call, so it's a big audience of some of your biggest fans and people that have heard you and respect you. But once upon a time, you used mortgage coach, and I bring it up right now because it's one of those things that it is high value activity when you are doing, driving a mortgage coach experience for a borrower. It does build confidence because you're delivering the absolute best, advice and value. If you wouldn't mind just sharing, what are some of the most effective ways you used it to get more business?
Yeah, before I do, let me throw 2 books out there for people to just write down in case anybody's interested in reading something before we leave the subject that we're just talking about. The Subject Matter of the Genius Zone, which is something that we go into incredible granular detail in teaching and coaching for over the course of an entire year in our Leadership 360 program, is one that you can get at least maybe more of a 30 or 40,000 foot level perspective on through a book called The Big Leap, L-E-A-P, written by Gay Hendricks, H-E-N-D-R-I-C-K-S. The Big Leap is a great book. I think that you'll really enjoy it. So that's one thing. The second thing is that you're talking about your Navy SEALs, and James and I and you, Dave, were just sharing right now about really the where you allow your mind to go, and what I'll call just healthy reframing of thought processes, getting ourselves out of fear and above the line, as James said. There's a really wonderful author out there by the name of Byron Katie, B-Y-R-O-N. Last name is K-A-T-I-E. I don't remember off the top of my head her best-selling book, but I'm actually just about done reading it. I'm going to go do a workshop of hers up in Big Sur here in a couple of weeks. And she puts you through a process, it's called inquiry, where when you're dealing with fear-based activities that are continually repeating themselves, you go through a 4-question process of asking yourselves these 4 very inquisitive questions about the circumstance that really kind of reframe and dispel the reality of what it is that we think is happening, and kind of eliminates the fear from the process. And I don't know that I articulated that as cleanly as I'd like, but I think you get the point. So just a couple of books there for you guys to maybe jump into. Right now, I guess I would just be looking at, the rent versus buy analysis. To me, this is the time to be using that report in a very creative way. So, realtors' businesses are going to start slowing down. They already have a little bit because rates have gone up, and you know, this is the time again where it's time to get out of the cave. For some of you, it may not be fun to do this, but you know, we'd have to take a look at that fear and that resistance that you're having. But getting out there and maybe doing some cooperative marketing with real estate agents. I used to do this pretty effectively. Back in the early days of being a loan originator, I would go out and I would door knock with real estate agents in neighborhoods. I would go to apartment complexes, and I would use that rent versus buy analysis to, you know, you can very easily find out what the average rents are in an entire apartment complex or condominium complex that's heavily rented out. You can have your title company look up non-owner occupied properties based upon who, you know, when you've got the property address different from the mailing address, and you can market directly to those renters with a rent versus buy analysis, showing them the after-tax benefits of buying a home. I mean, right now, rates are still smoking good, folks. I mean, let's be realistic about it. And there are a lot of people out there that have, you know, fairly inflated rents because the rental market was pretty tight. And I would be using that to direct mail to apartment and rental properties with a rent versus buy analysis. And I would also be offering to real estate agents that you're wanting to cultivate a relationship with to go out with them, and if they want to farm a certain area, that you'd be willing to put together the financial packages to help people in getting interested in buying a home. So those would be the couple of things that I would be doing right now, Dave.
Still there?
Still there, Dave? Hello?
You know, Tim, it looks like he got muted.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Dave,
Can you hear me?
Dave, you're currently on mute. You'll need to unmute yourself.
You want to keep going, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I would also, let me think for a minute. I mean, that's just the primary thing that pops to mind. Is Dave back yet?
Not yet, guys. It looks like he's still on mute right now.
Okay. All right. Well, while we're waiting for him, I'll tell you what I'll do.
I don't know. Hey, am I here?
Yep.
Guys?
Got you back.
Hey, I don't know what happened, but I got muted and I lost control of the system. I couldn't unmute myself. But anyway.
You went so deep in your genius zone, we couldn't find you.
Yeah, that was unusual. Jacob, if that ever happens again, just feel free to unmute me on your end. But so first of all, I think that was great advice. Lots of great action items. And by the way, guys, think about it. How much more confidence would you have if you were creating demand with first-time home buyers, if you were driving urgency with them, and you were able to bring those referrals to your realtor relationships? I mean, you know, in this market with low rates, with all-time high affordability index, it's just a fantastic strategy. And I want to remind everybody on Thursday at 9 o'clock, we will always do a very tactical training on how to do things. And we're going to focus that on the rent versus own. This Thursday, 9 o'clock, you know, I'll have a link to it on our Facebook page, and Jacob Gibbs will make sure that everybody knows how to do what Tim talked about in a very expert pro way. So Tim, you know, as we're not going to get through all these questions, and again, I want to remind everybody, if you have questions for Tim, submit them. We will go through a lot of thought before we bring Tim back into the next community, and we'll line up some more just awesome questions. So we're going to have another call like this in the coming weeks. Tim, I want to make sure everybody knows how to go deeper with you. I mean, obviously, I invited you to this conversation because I knew it would be valuable. But I also have a heart and a belief that anybody that hires you as a coach, anybody that goes through some of your deeper immersion programs, is going to be a whole lot better off in life. And it's one of the best ways that we can serve people here at Mortgage Coach. So, you know, what is your next event? You know, what's next, and how can people connect with you if they want to go deeper with Tim Braheem and James Price?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do something that's quasi-risky, but I'm going to go ahead and give out my email address. And I just ask that everybody respect that I'm giving it out for the purpose of you inquiring about, you know, in any way wanting to potentially work together. I don't want to sound you know, standoffish when I say that I don't have the time to necessarily answer, you know, 50, 60 different questions that come in. So if we could kind of keep the questions generated towards Dave, and then I promise I'll just keep making myself available for these calls, and I'll come on and answer your questions for you. That would probably be the most efficient and best way for me to operate within my genius zone. So my email address is tbraheem, BRAHEEM @gmail.com, and if we could use that solely for the purposes of inquiring about being, involved in our coaching program, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll go ahead and start, and James, you can go ahead and add anything you want. As I mentioned earlier, I used to do these executive business and life planning retreats in Costa Rica, and James is a spectacular coach and a true visionary, and along with him and the feedback of the people that had been through the 1-week retreats in Costa Rica, we really determined that what was most valuable would be to have a 1-year program, and we call that program Leadership 360. And it starts with a 1-week business and life planning retreat in Costa Rica, and I would tell you it's about 50-50 business and life. It's a very powerful event, and that's the beginning of the program, and then over the course of the next 12 months, we support you in the facilitation and implementation of that plan. And that's done through a series of group coaching calls. The group stays together as a group in support of each other for an entire year. And we do two-day retreats here at my home in Los Angeles as well. So we're together live 3 times in very saturated, deep work. And then we're on coaching calls together monthly. And then there's some other support stuff that I wouldn't get into the granular detail on, but it's a very life-altering, transformational experience on many levels, both in business and in your personal life. James, what would you like to add to that?
Well, I think the thing I might add into it is how often we've all gone to maybe a 2 or 3 day workshop. We take copious notes. We come back home, and in the workshop we're getting amazing insights on how we're going to make our life different, how we're going to change our business when we get back home. But unfortunately, when we come back home, our life, it doesn't look like the workshop. It's not spacious and open, and there's lots of creativity. By the time you get back home, that notebook gets set aside, all the great ideas get set aside, and then we get sucked back into life again. And then very often, we can try to come back to those notes, we can try to implement those things. There's no real support structure once that learning's happened, and that's why we created a 1-year program, so you go very deep for a whole week. You get the really high-level awareness of what you want to be doing differently, and then you've got a whole year of accountability and support to ensure that we implement it. And I think that's the difference between some experts who will just give information out and then hope that you go home and you take it and you work it. We actually want to stay with you for the full year to be sure that stuff gets changed. So we call it 360 because it's 360 degrees of your life, and that's why the program was designed the way it was, so we can ensure that not only you get the insights, but then you implement them. And there's a whole way that the community supports each other. We support each other, and it's been an amazing opportunity. I appreciate Dave you letting us come on the show, and Tim. If there's anything else you want to add on that, I just say, thanks for giving us the opportunity to be here.
No, I'd love to take at least one more question if we can. Let me just throw this out there that the process is an interview process. The next group program starts in early November at our retreat in Costa Rica. We do have 3 spots open for that still, so if you're interested, just shoot me an email. What we'll do is I'll set up a time to have the first interview is with me and the second interview is with James. So we'll set up a time to talk and kind of go through it, and I'll do some coaching as well, so you'll get some value most definitely in the conversation, if nothing else, and then we'll just kind of see how it fits for everybody. Dave, do you want to take another question before we wrap things up?
Yeah, let me go into wrap-up mode, and then we'll see if we have some time for one last word of wisdom. So I want to remind everybody, on your mobile device, put in rent-own. So at a minimum, you get to experience that mortgage coach rent versus own conversation, reminding everybody you can download it on an iPad or an Android. And I'll remind everybody, guys, we're here to help you get started. So if anybody's on the call and you have not mastered how to design, develop a rent versus own, a couple things. One, you can go to our website, just click the support button on the left, and put in rent versus own, or put in anything that you're interested in learning in our community, and all the relevant videos and content will show up. I'm really grateful, Tim, for the time that you took to prepare for this. I hope everybody connected the dots. What Tim said is email him. He's not, if it's just a general coaching question, he just doesn't have time to answer it. Don't take it disrespectfully. Know that it will get added to the list of questions that we consider. The best way to ask those questions is either on our Facebook page or just right here in the session. Click on the comment section or the question section and put in the question. And I guarantee you, I will read it, Tim will read it, James will read it, and we will discuss whether or not we add that to the next coaching call. And I can assure you that these guys will be back in our community delivering massive value. Again, I'm not going to go through all the action items. I think there's more than enough action items for everybody to get value from today's call. Tim, I do need to want to wrap it up on time. One, I have a hard stop, and two, we're going to bring you back in really soon. But last words of wisdom, just to give you the final thoughts today.
Yeah, just really, so like one of the things that we really work with our group with is the concept of on time. And it's so important right now. And what on time is, like these folks come back from Costa Rica with a very customized plan for the next 5 years of their life. And it can be daunting. And right now I know that your business can be daunting. You listen to these calls, you get a lot of notes, you've got to make a lot of changes. And it can be somewhat overwhelming to try to figure out how to go about implementing and incorporating and integrating these changes into your business activity. And the most effective way to do that is to schedule an appointment with yourself and understand that it's the most important appointment in your calendar. So what I really want to recommend as a final action step to all of you is to schedule one full day a month. And if you want to do more than that, that's fine, but I'm just trying to make it very easy to implement. One full day a month where you go to an off-site location and you work on your business, on any of the changes that you're looking to make, on your approach to pursuing real estate agents, on your script to calling your clients, on your list of refis that you missed out on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a non-negotiable appointment. I mean, you change your voicemail. Think of it that you have 104 fever that day. You wouldn't go into the office if you were that sick. So it's the same concept. You go to, I used to go to Barnes & Noble for the entire day. And I'd get there at 9, and I'd change my voicemail, and I'd let everybody know I'll be returning any urgent phone calls at 5, and the rest of them I'll be returning tomorrow. My staff would know that I'm not available unless it's an emergency. And I would have 8 uninterrupted hours to work on my business. And that's the final action step that I have for you today is to really take seriously the importance of creating that sacred space for yourself. James, do you have anything on that to add to that?
No, I'll just be really brief since we're going to wrap it up. I just wanted to say, Dave, I've just recently gotten to know you, and I really want to acknowledge you for what you're bringing to this community and the amount of incredible value. I'm just really glad there are guys like you out in the world making a difference like you are. I really just appreciate being here and just see you as an incredible asset to this community.
Thank you. That's kind of you to say. And again, great people get together, great things happen. So gentlemen, I think it's been a fantastic call. Again, I hope everybody takes action on what we said. And again, you probably said it best. I mean, the two most important takeaways is, getting away from your business once a month for on time, and then, getting a little wake-up call, a little alarm every day to make sure that you're on time and on present.
Hey, Dave, can I just say one last word? Is from all the value that's been given on this call is that you guys commit the next 24 hours, everybody out there, to sit down for 15, 20 minutes and get one idea that you're going to use from this call and make sure that it happens. Just one thing from this call. That would be worth the investment of time that you've been here this morning.
Yeah, the coach. Yeah, we know why you're Tim's coach, man. You made it actionable. One thing, guys. So, hey, everybody, we will see you in a few weeks. I will be announcing when Tim, Braheem, and James are going to be back. And, again, your questions are what drive this, and your energy and your loyalty is what makes us a great company at Mortgage Coach. So I thank you for being our customers, our friends, and I look forward to seeing you next week, everybody. And if you want to learn how to use the rent versus own in a level of expert, don't miss Thursday, 9 o'clock with Jacob and the team. Take care and have a great week, everybody. Again, thank you.
Thanks everybody for
Take
calling.
care, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.